Alright, hey guys, Brian and Scott here with Warrior Combat Systems. We wanted to make another video addressing specifically the concept of self-defense, which you may have seen from the title. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about what our intention is with Warrior Combat Systems and why we even started this thing. So Warrior Combat Systems was created as a company to be able to teach and train and equip people in all the ways of the warrior. So everything from preparation to fitness to equipment testing and development, all the way to armed training, firearms training, long distance rifle training, carbine training, shotgun, handgun, and knife. So we wanted to kind of cover everything that a warrior is all about in a modern day society. So let's talk a little bit about self-defense, and you may have seen from the title of the video, we're very much of the opinion that self-defense in and of itself is useless. Because the word itself, by definition, embraces a passive mindset. And by nature, it causes people to be reactive instead of be proactive in situations. When it comes to matters in life and death, one of the last things that you want to do is be reactive in a situation. You never want to allow your attacker to set the pace or set the parameters of the fight. Because at that case, you're always fighting to catch back up. You're always behind the 8 ball, so to speak. So what we've done is we wanted to create a system that would teach people to be very active, very aggressive, and very forward in procuring and protecting their own personal safety. So taking it upon themselves to be proactive for their personal safety as opposed to reactive. Our goal at Warrior Combat Systems is to propel a new way of thinking. So our goal is to get people out of that old mindset of sitting and waiting for something to happen and reacting, and into a new mindset of being proactive about their physical safety and the safety of their loved ones and those around them.
So we're talking, you're hearing us talk a lot about mindset, and one of the absolute critical elements of a combative mindset is the idea of violent intent, which is once a line has been crossed, having the will to cause physical harm and damage to your opponent. That differs a lot from what you'll be taught with traditional martial arts or in a self-defense seminar. Generally, they're teaching to do the minimum amount of damage to your attacker as you can while avoiding getting hurt. And it's really insufficient. If somebody has the will to hurt or kill you, and that's your mindset, they're going to win because their intent is greater than yours. And so rather than defending ourselves with the concern for the well-being of our attacker in mind, what we need to adopt a different philosophy, which is I'm going to inflict the absolute maximum amount of damage that I can in the minimum amount of time until the threat is neutralized. And that's not to say that we are using excessive force. Absolutely not. Once the threat stops, then we stop, but not a moment before. And it also is us that is driving this thing and not the opponent. We're taking the reins. And the whole problem is this sort of Zen kind of, detached, passive mindset that martial arts will teach you is necessary in order to be able to defend yourself. That once emotion gets involved, then you won't be able to think clearly, you won't be able to do what you're supposed to do. Well, you're not going to be able to think clearly because your life is in danger. Okay, you're going to go into what's called body alarm response, you're going to get an adrenaline dump, you're going to lose fine motor control, and you're going to get tunnel vision. And that's a fact. That's what happens to your body, and it's designed to do that. And with violent intent is strengthened by the body alarm response, and that sort of passive mindset that's technique-based is weakened by it because it relies on fine motor skills and it relies on your conscious process of thought. And what we're talking about is something that is much more primal, it's much more instinctual, and the focus must be on what I can do to harm my opponent and not on what he can do to hurt me. And that's what we're talking about. being proactive instead of reactive, and that's how that plays out as it pertains to self-defense.
And we'll cover some more concepts like this in later videos, just to talk about some other stuff. Like he talked briefly about body alarm response. That's something that people really need to understand, because it's a physiological process your body will go through in a life or death situation. When you're introduced to a critical stress type of situation, your body will do certain things. Like he was talking about loss of fine motor skills. Your tunnel vision will come in, so the blood flow actually changes in your body and the way it sends blood to your visual acuity, and so all of that stuff changes. Another thing that happens that people don't pay attention to is what's called auditory exclusion. And auditory exclusion is where in a protection mode, because of the body alarm response, your body shuts off your hearing canals essentially, so that you're not able to hear. That's why you'll hear a lot of people who have been in car accidents or have been in terrorist attacks or whatever the case may be. After the initial impact happens, when that adrenaline dump is going, they don't remember hearing anything else. Everybody else talks like they're just mumbling in the background, and there's this weird sound that goes on. So understanding that those things are going to happen and understanding how to deal with them, and then building a combative system around them, so that we know, okay, tunnel vision is going to be a problem. So that we know, okay, fine motor skill loss is going to be a problem. So everything that we do is going to have to be large movements, gross movements, powerful movements, things that can be done with the loss of fine motor skills. So we'll go into that specifically in some later videos on what those techniques are and how that works and how it works physiologically with your body.
Another concept that we want to cover is the idea of preemption. And that's something that's largely missing in the traditional martial arts world and in the self-defense community. And basically, preemption is we need to begin to act as soon as we can in the sequence of events that involve a violent conflict. If you go into a karate studio, usually where they will start is, let's talk about how to escape from a front choke, for example. But never do we talk about, how did I let that person get close enough to me to put that technique on me? What was happening before that? How could I have avoided it? Basically, it's back to that whole reactive way of thinking, and that's what we want to avoid. So preemption involves things like environmental awareness. Training yourself to always be monitoring what's going on around you, and being able to pick up things that are suspicious or things that could potentially be a danger to you, and beginning to act immediately then. It also involves things like verbal conflict de-escalation. How can I study the art of communicating to get my way out of violent conflicts? Also, we want to talk about fence concepts, which has to do with combat zones and distances. How can I keep somebody out of my physical space to where they can actually hurt me? How can I keep them out of arm's reach from me? And once they cross that barrier with the intent to hurt me, then we preempt by hitting first and hitting hard, and we keep hitting until it's over. And that's what preemption is about. And getting back, this is where violent intent comes in, which is if you do some research and you study street violence, the majority of the time you will see that it is a one-way street. One person is delivering the beating and one person is receiving. It's not a boxing match where we're trading shots. And so that's the reality of what happens. And so we want to be on the giving end of that beating. And the only way to do that is to have violent intent and to preempt and to hit first and to hit hard and to finish and don't stop until it's over. And so those are a couple of our core principles and things that are missing from self-defense, and why we have decided to throw the term self-defense out and adopt more of a combatives type of mindset.
Yeah, so just to add to what he was saying with preempting, preempting goes for everything from the moment you walk out of the door in the morning to the moment you walk back in the door and lay your head to bed at night.
Absolutely.
So preempting, it means understanding what's in and around your car when you're walking to your vehicle. Preempting means from 30 feet away, I'm making mental notes of who the people are that I'm crossing paths with. Because whether something happens to me or not, what if the guy that I'm passing on the sidewalk goes around the corner and rapes somebody, or goes around the corner and mugs somebody? If I could have been a witness and I could have made a mental note and I could have known who it was and seen what they were wearing and pay attention to what's going on around me, I can be a help in those situations. So preemption basically covers every area of your life. And then like he was saying with violent intent, it simply means you don't stop until it stops. That's really kind of the fundamental element of what violent intent is. Is that it's when that switch gets flipped, you are always the one to take the fight to them, not have the fight taken to you. So you take the fight to them and then you continue to fight until the threat is neutralized. So that's just a couple things I just wanted to kind of follow up on with that. So stay tuned for more info.